What's up guys, Stranger1 here and welcome back to another Division 2 video. If you've been watching my Division 2 videos for a while now, you'll know that I have a certain amount of love for this gear set, and I have made, I believe, 2 videos on it already, and it keeps updating. The gear set changed, I believe, twice now, and this new version is definitely something else. And the build I got for you guys today is genuinely insane. If you looked at the footage beforehand, it is a monster. And it is definitely some of the most fun I've had in the Division. The last video I made in the Division is probably my best build I've ever made. And it doesn't have as much fun as this build. So, only one exotic in this one. It's not super hard to get. It's actually a blast to get. So I think you guys will enjoy this one. So let's get right into the build today. So for my weapons, I'll go over them really quick. I'm running a Sig 556 with Sadist. Really, you could run any exotic you'd want. I did try out the Ravenous with it. It was fun, but I'm gonna make a separate video for this and a separate build. So I think my current build with this is fun as it is. So yeah, I'm running the Sig 556 with Sadist. Like I said, you can run any exotic you really want. The main caveat though is this Sig MPX. For some reason or another, the Sig MPX for me has probably been one of the best guns, one of the best high-end guns I've ever used in the Division 2 overall. And I don't know why. I have a very mediocre roll, and it hits like a truck. Excuse me. I'm running this with Sadist as well. You'll see why the Sig MPX is like the main piece of this build. When I get into my gloves, you can already kind of see it when I back out. But if I were to have a better roll, I would say go for max SMG damage, max critical hit chance, and max magazine capacity. That's what I would go with. I kind of just took what I got because I was struggling to get an MPX. I really was struggling. So yeah, pistol doesn't really matter. If you want to put Sadist on it, go ahead. I'm just running my usual pistols, either my breadbasket god roll or my lucky shot. So you can run either or. So let's go into my high-end piece first. I am running a Sokolov gloves with weapon damage and critical hit damage. I would prefer critical hit chance as well, but I don't have the best rolling now, and I am struggling to get a better glove. This will be one of the few pieces I will upgrade on this, if there is many upgrades. This piece right here is probably be the one I'd go for the best, because I need that 10% SMG damage, and I would prefer critical hit chance instead of hazard protection. So this is the only high-end piece in this entire build. Let's get into the knee pads. Knee pads I am running are the ongoing Directive knee pads. I rolled max armor on this. I would like crit hit damage on the knee pads. This is the only other piece I'd really want to upgrade. But yeah, you want max armor on this because you're not super tanky, and you're really only getting one or two ways to get armor back. This is a really good solo build. It's very fun in a group as well, but I find it really good as a solo build. So That's why you want to stack on the armor. Holster I'm running is max crit chance. You can obviously have better weapon damage. I'm okay with where I'm at with weapon damage, but obviously you want to have max, not at all, kind of like I have right here from 100 Fury. But yeah, max crit chance is what I'm running, and obviously max weapon damage would be better. When I go through the last two pieces of ongoing directive, I can tell you about a different way to run this build. It's just you're gonna have less healing. It's the only difference. The the mask I'm running has max crit hit damage with 11.0 weapon damage and a mod of more crit hit damage. The only reason why I'm running the crit hit damage instead of crit hit chance is what you'll see in a second. My crit hit damage is pretty low, so is my crit hit chance. But this, this should end up having crit hit chance in the end, and so should this. So my crit hit chance isn't gonna suffer that much when I get the god roll pieces that I need. And then I'm also running the backpack with max crit hit damage. And then the mod I'm running is armor on kill, because you're not the tankiest and you're not getting a lot of healing, but you're getting a good amount. So the armor on kill is really going to help because you're shredding with this build. Because with the 4-piece ongoing directive, getting a kill with an enemy that is status affected, and you'll see the exotic that plays into this in a second, it gives you hollow point ammo, and that gives you 20% weapon damage and applies bleed, so you can continue it. The bleed is very, very important. Why? Because we're running Ridgeway's Pride. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of this exotic. I feel like they should take away the need to be within 15 meters of that bleeding enemy for the armor regen. Obviously you could abuse it then, but it's an exotic. Kind of a trade-off. Obviously you have to be within 15 meters to apply the bleed. But that's where I feel like the ongoing directive would come in handy. But really quickly, so I'm running with max weapon damage, max crit hit chance. I only got mine to roll with 9.4% crit hit damage, but I've kind of mitigated that and put on a max rolled crit hit damage mod, so that it's technically a god roll, just slightly less of one. And let me go over the talent quick. If you do not have Ridgeway's Pride yet, if you don't want to know what it is, just skip over this exotic part. You know you probably read it already, but I'm just going to put that in no matter what. So the talent is called Bleeding Edge. Shooting enemies within 15 meters applies bleed to the target. Repair 3 to 48% of your armor per second for every enemy that is bleeding within 15 meters. Repair strength per number of bleeding enemies. 1 enemy, you get 3% repair strength. 2 enemies, 6%. 3 enemies, 12%. 4 enemies, 24%. 5 enemies, 48%. So you're basically getting 50% of your armor back a second. On the summit, I'm telling you right now, this build is insane. You're usually within close range, especially in the boss rooms, so that armor regen is just monumental. And with ongoing directive, you're applying bleed a lot and doing a lot more weapon damage. Now, the other variation of this build that you can run is you can put on the chest piece to allow you to do more damage, and you could run Memento. This will up your armor, but it'll take away your healing. Because I currently run Fixer Drone, but I liked having Ridgeway's Pride to kind of like give me that double healing. Because, you know, the Fixer Drone doesn't repair super fast if you don't have skill tiers. And we're only at 1 skill tier when we have Memento. And when we don't have Memento, we're at 0. So you're not going to have much healing. So, which is why I like to run Ridgeway's Pride instead of Memento. But if you want to be sitting there just doing the most amount of DPS, I recommend going for the chest piece and using Memento instead of Ridgeway's Pride. In terms of skills, you use whatever you want. There's no set skill you need to use with this build. That's how I like to keep my builds. I like to keep my builds strictly on the pieces themselves and not on the skills. Obviously, if I was going to make a skill build, which I have plenty of, I've got quite a few skill builds, I would go more into what kind of skills you want to use, all that. You can also run the Explosive Seeker, just so you can do more bleed, because it does apply bleed. So if you want to do that, you can. You could run the arts. You could run the Stair Hive, which applies bleed. Yeah, and you could run the Artillery, which also applies bleed. So those are all options. Why now? I was going to show you. This is why I think specking in the crit hit damage will help. It's because we do a lot more damage. Because I'm very low right now. I'm only at 106.4%. Crit hit chance, like I said, will go up. It should break about 40% when I'm done with it. Getting the right pieces. So that's why I'm not too worried about my crit hit chance, and I'm more worried about my crit hit damage. Which is why I'm specking more on the crit hit damage. So that is the ongoing directive build. I love ongoing directive. It is definitely, probably in my opinion. I mean, I'm not considering Hunter Fury in this conversation because this is on a different level. This feels like an exotic. Hunter Fury does. It feels like an exotic. It really does. But in my opinion, ongoing directive is probably the best. It is the most fun, and it gives you a different dynamic to the game. With all that said and done, guys, go ahead, give this build a try. Have some fun with it. Switch some things up. Maybe run an AR and run Fenris instead. Or run Petra, run Carnage for perfect Sadist. We've got a lot of options with this build. So go ahead, go test it out, have some fun with it. I appreciate you guys watching this video. And hopefully I should have a Ravenous video coming out within the next week or two. We will see with Beyond Light and Cold War coming out. Take care, agents.